Welcome back, dear viewers, and good evening again. And our first guest of the evening is Dr. Manar AlAwadhi, Head of Nutrition Unit at the Usman Diabetes Institute, Assistant and also Assistant Professor at Kuwait University. Doctor, good evening. It's really our pleasure to have you with us on Hala Kuwait, and we cannot wait for this interesting subject you're going to share with us.
Hello, good evening. The pleasure is mine, and I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure.
It's our absolute pleasure, especially that we're going to be talking about a very important topic, which is childhood obesity. So what is the impact of childhood obesity on health, related outcomes, and also the quality of life?
All right, so we all know that with obesity, there's a lot of risk factors that come with it. As adults who suffer from obesity, they're more likely, or the chances of them getting type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, heart disease are all at a much higher risk. So imagine all these risks are also risks for children who are suffering from overweight or obesity. But these children will be getting these diseases at a much earlier age, and which can be very, would have a lot of consequences in the long run.
Definitely.
And some of these consequences would be, for example, even on the economy and even in the community as well. So in the economy for these children, as adults, if they are suffering from certain chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes or heart disease, managing these diseases takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, and these people are more likely to have sick leaves compared to other adults who are healthy. And with more sick leaves, that affects the work productivity, and that eventually affects the economy. And also the healthcare costs, if we're speaking in terms of community and public health, the healthcare cost of an individual who is overweight or obese is almost 30 to 150 times higher than an individual who is normal weight. So this is also additional cost on the country in treating these diseases.
I think, Mohammed, that's very unfortunate, especially for children that are dealing with that. And hopefully through this interview, parents can learn the importance of actually preventing obesity. So how important is obesity prevention?
Okay, prevention is very important, and it's the key here, because if we don't prevent it early, eventually we're going to get to the stage where we'd have to treat it. And sometimes it's very late at that stage. So prevention is key. I would advise all the parents to be, maybe this is the first and the most important advice, to be good role models. So children usually look up to their parents and look up to the adults around them. And in Kuwait, in terms of our family and culture, some of us live with extended family. So it's not just the parents' role, but all the adults in the household, the grandparents, the uncles, the aunts. So these should all be good role models for the kids. Increasing physical activity. I understand the climate doesn't help, especially in the summer days, but there's a lot of indoor activities that can be done to get the kids running and moving and active throughout the day. And replacing all the sugar-sweetened beverages with water. So water should be the preferred beverage with every meal and in between meals, in replace to the sugar-sweetened beverages with all the added sugars.
Okay, so let's forget about the advices and definitions and researches. Let's focus on Kuwait. Why childhood obesity in Kuwait is a main, or let's say it's a big concern? Why?
So Kuwait has one of the highest rates of obesity in children and also adults in all the world. And the thing with obesity in Kuwait, especially with children in other countries, for example, the US, we did see like a sharp incline in the rates of obesity, but in the past few years it has plateaued and has become more stable. It's still high, but it's plateauing and stabilizing. In Kuwait, we still see the rates increasing. So there are several factors that are leading to this. First, I mentioned the hot climate, so people are not very active. And the other thing is the convenience of accessing unhealthy food. So with all the fast food applications and ordering became very convenient.
Fast access.
Yes, children can order their food and get to their doorstep right away. So all these factors also affect the rates of obesity as well.
Yeah,
definitely, because Mohammed, when we were children, we would have to go to our parents to get fast food, you know, and wait for a yes or
once
no.
A month,
and it was once a month or even once a week.
Exactly.
Now it's becoming almost on a daily basis without even asking for permission, or it's not like they have to ask for permission, but it's, you know, it's becoming more on everyday basis rather than occasionally like it was
extremely accessible.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're still in Kuwait. But let's go back to 2020, the start of the pandemic on March. I met a lot of my friends. They said they gained a lot of weight during the pandemic. So when we are talking about childhood obesity, have you noticed any increase with the the obesity during the pandemic and the lockdown?
Yes, so there are several studies that have done abroad. So it's not just Kuwait, but this is a global problem as well. Especially after COVID, the rates have increased, and it affected the children who were already overweight or were suffering from obesity. Those were affected the most. And what happened is, when we look at research, even before COVID-19, usually children gain most of their weight during the summer vacation.
Right.
And that's because they're not in an academic school environment, their routine changes, they're not as active. So imagine summer vacation for 2 years. So it's not really summer vacation, they were still doing online school, but the environment they're in home, so the kitchen and all the food was accessible at any time, where in school you don't have that accessibility to food.
Exactly.
And also the physical activity was a lot less compared to when someone is in school. So if your kids go to school, they would have to wake up, walk to the car, from the car walk to school, and then in school they would walk between classes, they would have recess and physical education. So there was a lot of activity involved. This was all eliminated during the 2 years of COVID. So this is where we see an increase in the rates of overweight and obesity in children during those times, because of the changes in the environment and the school.
When it comes to children obesity, like most of the cases, is it temporary during childhood and it disappears by time, or it stays for them the rest of their life? They didn't change their lifestyle.
Okay, that's a really good question. So the research shows that children who suffer from obesity are more likely to be adults that suffer from obesity as well. However, doesn't mean that they will. So it just increases the chances. So there's always room for changing your lifestyle, being more active, eating more healthy, and that's very, very important in the long run. And we also get a lot of questions about genetics. Does genetic play a role?
Yes.
And what we say in public health, usually genetics is the gun, but the lifestyle is the trigger.
Right.
So you might have the genes, but with your changes and living a healthy lifestyle, you can still become a healthy individual without, even if you have the genes of being more at risk of obesity. So definitely those kids who are currently obese, there is still a chance for them to change their lifestyle, and even with adults, it's never too late.
Exactly, and it's good for them to break the trigger.
Yes.
Definitely. And I think that's great advice, doctor. And when you were talking about childhood obesity, I just remembered that a lot of gyms are now providing children classes. So you can go to the gym and then put your children in classes. So do you recommend that children that are dealing with obesity should start going to gyms, or is that too extreme for a child?
I think all children, not just children who have obesity or overweight. I think all children should be active. This is a great opportunity, especially if it's an indoor space with our very hot climate.
Yes.
I encourage them to be active. If the parents are in the gym, the children should be there as well. And like the children, of course, it has to be safe for children.
Definitely.
But if there is a children's area, definitely for all children, I think it's very necessary, especially when they're not in school, because sometimes in school they are getting the activity they need, but during the summer holidays, this is where
mostly
so I highly encourage it for all children.
I think that's a great and positive trend then happening here in Kuwait, and hopefully would see more of that. So what can be done in terms of public health and health promotion to really help reduce childhood obesity, because we always hear that awareness really does help with prevention?
Yeah, so awareness is very important, but I feel we're at a stage in Kuwait where a lot of people are already aware.
Yes.
People know that this is a problem, but what we lack here is what can we do to solve this problem or to prevent this problem. So there are different things, different approaches that can be done, that have been done in other countries and have been successful. And I would say if we are talking about or focusing on children, school is the best environment. So if you think about it, children spend almost a third of their day in school. They eat almost 2 meals of the day in school, and also they are in school 2/3 of the year. Right. So it's and the school is a teaching environment, it's an academic environment, so it's a great way to promote health, especially when you have the administrators and the school staff and the teachers are all good role models. So this is a great place to start not only providing healthy food in schools, but also to include health education into the curriculum. This can be included into science, into math, into history. So that's one approach that can be done and has been successful in other countries. Another thing that has been done in several countries, including countries around us, like Saudi and United Arab Emirates, so they have implemented that sugar-sweetened beverage tax. And what's really nice about the tax is you're not only taxing these drinks with added sugars, but that tax money goes back to health promotion.
That's great.
And public health, which is really good.
Same as energy drinks and cigarettes.
Yeah, so yes, exactly. So this follows the model with the cigarette ban and the cigarette taxation. Very similar model has been applied to sugar-sweetened beverages, and the cigarettes model has been very successful worldwide, and so this is coming to follow. And something else the European countries have been done, especially targeted to children, is that they restrict any fast food or junk food advertisements in children's shows. So any shows for children, there aren't any fast food advertisements that are targeted to children.
Well,
I think that's really good,
great
Mohammed.
plan, yes, definitely.
Because even us as adults, just going home on the way home, just seeing an advertisement on a billboard for like a great burger, you tend to go to the drive-through right away.
Yes.
So I can see that going on.
Definitely, the marketing plays a big role, and that's why I'm not sure if this applies in Kuwait, but for example, in the US, the cereal boxes, like cornflakes or any cereal boxes, are always placed, the sugary ones and targeted children are at the lower shelves. We're at the eye level of the child, and those are the most expensive placement of these products. So marketing plays a big role. So also in terms of policy, if we can have some marketing or policies in terms of marketing to children, that can be also very effective.
Definitely, I can see that being very beneficial for our society. So we talked about maybe schools trying to help with prevention and awareness when it comes to children, but what can parents do at home? Because unfortunately, sometimes parents, Mohammed, could be really busy. You know, they're going to work,
sometimes,
so many kids.
Sometimes they use it like against or like to finish from their children crying or being annoying to them.
That's right.
They give them chocolates for breakfast, fast food for dinner, or
so this becomes a very interesting topic, and I can go on and on with it forever. And that's when we use food as reward. So this is not encouraged at all, because you are teaching the child that every time they want something, or even with rewarding the child, you're rewarding with a treat and using those foods that kids usually like that are with added sugars as a treat, and this can backfire in the long run. So a better approach is to use non-food items like stickers, pencils, like small toys. Those are much better items to be used in terms of food rewards, and you would use those as rewards. So those are great things to do with children in terms of rewarding them. Other things to provide a more healthy environment at home would be to always have fruits and vegetables available. I know a lot of kids are not willing to try the fruits, but having them exposed to them all the time is very important. So some children may not try it the first time, may not try it the second time, might try it the third time and not like it, but most important is that they are exposed to it. We never force, so it's not good to force a child to eat anything. However, just expose them and be a good role model. So you eat those healthy foods in front of the child. And I think I mentioned earlier, water should be the main source of beverage at home rather than the sugar-sweetened beverages. So those are some things that parents can do to help their child eat more healthfully.
Well, that's really great, a great plan, especially the stickers part. I really like that.
That's right, and as you said, children do really mirror their parents. So if they see their parents always eating healthy foods and drinking a lot of water, and if that's instilled in them from the beginning at a very early age, hopefully that would be a great
And that applies to physical activity as well, going back to your point about the gym. So it's good for the kids to see that their parents are going to the gym, are being active. Sometimes there are some family activities that can be more active. Those things are highly encouraged as well.
Well, Dr. Manar, thank you so much for all this advice. I think parents out there really benefited from this. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed the information you shared with us, and we really wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dear viewers, we had with us Dr. Manar AlAwadhi, Head of Nutrition Unit at the Diabetes Institute and Assistant Professor at Kuwait University.